Hello and welcome back to the Untriggered Parenting Podcast with me, Paula Sampson Lawrence. Today my special guest is Carolina Brantaco. Carolina is a certified parent coach, and today she talks to us about the challenges of multicultural families and how those challenges can be navigated, and also some of the incredible benefits that come with it. So let's dive in. So welcome, Carolina, to the podcast this morning. And how are you doing?
Thank you for the invitation. I'm good, and I was waiting to talk with you about this topic that it's very inside my heart.
Yes, and you were talking to us from Brazil, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a family consultant and parent coach. I'm living in Brazil. I'm from Argentina. Multicultural families is a topic that I was dealing with as raising my children with different cultures.
Yes. So tell us basically what your family is made up of.
Yeah. I was born and I was growing in Argentina. We speak Spanish there. And then I came to Brazil to make a 2-year course, a master's degree. And my intention was to finish the master's degree and come back home. But during the master's degree, I met a classmate who was from Brazil. And we decided to stay together. And when we finished, we decided to live together and get married. So the first who find a job when we finish the master will pull the other one. And he find a job first here in Brazil. So I came and stayed with him. I moved from another city. And because Brazil is a very good, big country, I already find a very different culture when I moved to the city in where he was living. So this was kind of a first big multicultural cultural challenge. And you know, the food, the codes, the humor, everything is different, and you feel a little bit odd, and you try to preserve and keep your cultural, your food, your the way you celebrate things, and you know, all this tradition. But you know, it was okay with just, you know, a couple. But then we have our first child who was born here in Brazil. And I could not speak another language to my baby. It was speaking my mother tongue. I was singing the songs that my mother was singing. Yeah. I could not do it any different. And there was a lot of challenges. First of all, to find a name. The names that I like it, his father didn't like it at all. And the names he was suggesting were awful to me. So that was a very big, I mean, it could be funny now, but I was 8 months pregnant and I didn't have the name for my baby. It caused a little bit of anxiety to me because he could be born at any moment. But then we moved to England. We stayed 4 years in England, and there was another culture. And there in England was born our daughter. So her first year, and when my son went to school, was, you know, in English. It was in another culture. There were very different festivals, very different kind of foods and habits. And the children were have another songs and another plays and another everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was challenging because it was a kind of confusing. You need to spend so much energy to try to understand the other one. It's like sometimes you enjoy to go out, but then you enjoy to come back home. So I enjoy to speak my own language, to do my own foods, because around all these traditions, there is a loving memory. Yeah. And it feels like, that's okay with me. You know, is this flavor, is this festival, is this arrangement, is this way to be dressed and to talk and to laugh or music. So everything around that make you feel like at home and you belong. Or when everything around you is different, it's like kind of stressing because sometimes you try to fit in or laugh about things that you really don't understand because they are related with an actor or something that is very, very particular for that place. Then we come back to Brazil in Brazil was born our third child.
Mm.
And a few years later, we moved to Canada, and we were living there. And because even if it was English again, the language, there were very different things than in England. It's another country. And it's very multicultural as well. So we found so many families from other parts of the world, and in England as well. But almost all of them have kind of similar challenges. And this is what I would like to tell parents. There are some ways that I have been learning to diminish a little bit these challenges. They are going to happen, and I think this is part of a normal family life. There's always challenges that we need to. But something that helped me so much, it was to prepare in advance, and it could have different ways in depend of the age of your child. When they were very, very little, I used to prepare some books with pictures of the country we are going to live or the other culture, and we were reading these books. We make these books together. Like, I print some maps or flags or languages or principal foods or principal festivals. And by reading that, I make them a little bit used with that and some exciting, because we were reading the books like, yeah, look at this fly, it's very different. Do you know why it's having these colors? This color represent that, and there's that, and look at this food, it could be yummy, and we are going to taste that. And by preparing, when we arrive or when we face something like, a festival, it was not so different. It was not so shocking somehow, when they were a little bit older, we moved to watch videos or watching films and make friends and try to keep contact with the friends we already live, and mainly with the family and mainly with the languages. This is something that I would like to stress, because sometimes when parents are from different countries, one of them stop talking their mother tongue. And that's a little bit sad, because, in a multicultural world that we are living, knowing another language not also increase your abilities and your cognitive skills, but give you another tool to work or to be ahead of some colleagues that doesn't have this skill. So I find it very, very important. Now my oldest son is 23 and he can speak Portuguese because we are living in Brazil. He can speak very fluent English because he went to school over there and he was keeping that language. And he's speaking Spanish because I was always speaking Spanish with my children at home. And when we were alone, I was always keeping my mother tongue. Another very important thing is that they can keep relationship with their families and with friends that made in another countries or are belong from other places. So sometimes I'm going to tell something to my mother, who, all my family is still living in Argentina. And when I told her something that happened, she told me, no, your daughter already give me a call and she told me about that. I already know that. So she can talk with my mother, she can talk with my brothers and my sister and keep this relationship very close, even if we are living far away.
That's really good, isn't it? Because I agree that is so important. That's how you keep your cultural heritage, and that's how you pass it down from generations to generations.
Yes. And I think it comes very, very common, this kind of situation. Sometimes, even if the two parents are from the same country, from job opportunities you move to other places. And it's always nice to keep it excited. Even there's a lot of challenges, sometimes I remember my older son making um, keeping apart the papers, because he needs to do write a text for an assignment in the school, and he said he could not do it in English. He will never learn a language. He hates moving. He hates English. He hates that country. Everything. It was so overwhelming, and the
Yeah, I
teachers
bet.
were putting a little bit of pressure. But at the end of the day, as I told you, now he's studying in English, and give him the opportunity to do so many courses that he's using in his university
Yeah.
study. He's having that skill, and there are some researches that prove that when you develop some neural connections to learn one language, you use these neural connections to learn other languages, and make easier to learn new things. So it's also a development um, uh,
Oh, that's really
achievement.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was especially worried because my daughter was born with Down syndrome. And people with Down syndrome have some difficulties to learn other to learn language and to manage,
Yes.
speech. And so she went through a speech pathologist and helped her. And we were talking three languages, was the situation when
Wow.
she was born. And
Hmm.
I was worried that, sometimes I can confuse her a little bit more. But
Hmm.
when we moved to Canada, I attended a congress about Down syndrome, and there was a researcher who was talking that because in Canada they speak English and French as
Yes.
official languages, they knew and they studied what happened with children that are bilingual or monolingual, and there was no difference at all. On the contrary, children were
Oh.
bilingual were developing more skills than the ones are monolingual. The thing is that in the very beginning, for example,
Hmm.
like when they speak 100 words, they split these 100 words in several languages. So in the beginning, it may look that the vocabulary is
Hmm.
less developed than another child the same age, but over the time, all these neural connections and all these things that happen in the brain are helping them to learn new things.
Hmm.
So what I want to say is that there are so many challenges, but there are some advantages. And to prevent that, as I said, the best way that you can do is prepare your children. Let's try to make it as excited as we can,
Hmm.
the approach to a different culture. And other very important thing, and maybe could be the most important one, is to talk and to plan between the parents before having an approach. Decide between you, both of you, how we are going to celebrate Christmas, or how we are going to celebrate birthday. Are we going to celebrate this festival? And it could
Yeah.
happen with different religions as well. They need to be a lot of respect and a decision, because if not, could be different expectations and intentions, and that can cause a lot of challenges, and sometimes deal with a big disconnection, and that's
Hmm.
not very good. We want to keep everything as smooth as possible. um, some points in religion or language or food or festivals, it make, as I said in the beginning, so close to our heart, because
Yeah.
are the memories when we were children, how we were raised, and I
Yes.
have a lot of affection memories. So when that is not respect, it
Hmm.
could be so triggering. So this
Oh,
podcast is untriggering parenting. So let's try
yes.
to
Yeah.
keep it as untriggered possible.
I was going to ask you actually, what was there any difference in terms of parenting? Was there anything culturally that maybe you did growing up and he did growing up that didn't quite fit together, so you had to find a new way of parenting together?
Yeah. Well, that's something that every parent needs to sit down and discuss.
Yes,
We need to
absolutely.
discuss a plan, how we are going to raise our children, what are the values. I find that in he was coming from a family, and everyone have for a different family. Every family have a different habits and ways to parenting. But I found that they were a little bit more overprotecting, which it doesn't mean to be loving, but I always try to give my children as much as autonomy and independence as possible, to give them opportunities to live without me one day, But I found that, when something happened, he was trying to protect and said, no, poor him, or let's bring it here. And I was pausing a little bit and give them the opportunity to deal with that, with my presence, being there without leaving them away, but let them know that that's okay. Maybe you're not, as I was talking with the writing test, he was not ready to do it, that he was overwhelmed, but that's okay. I'm here with you. Take a pause, but then we are going to try again. We are not going, okay, I'm going to talk with the teacher. You are not going to do this assignment because you are not ready. So much for you. No, I was pushing them a little bit. And sometimes his father said that I was a little bit hard. But, over the time, I found that I give them that skills.
Yes.
They were a little bit more hard in England. I find, sometimes when he was in the kindergarten and was crying, the teacher would say, why are you crying? Stop crying. But, in South America, we give them a hug, and we stay, a little bit close. And so we face all these challenges. And this like overprotection or trying to keep them away, of frustration or all these kind of things was a big different and a big challenging for us as a couple.
And you also mentioned you're a parent coach, aren't you? So at what stage or what country were you even in when you started moving into that space?
Well, one of the reasons to become a parent coach and study always child development and how can I be the best mom I could, it was because I raised my children far from my family. So without my references, without my parents, without my brothers, my cousins. So I need to find my own model through all these cultures and all these things.
Yes.
And so I was trying to empower myself with knowledge and with tools and strategies. So when I already have my third baby. When I get pregnant for my third baby, I start the course and I was becoming a parent coach and a holistic family consultant just to find tools for myself.
Yes.
But then I realized that I was accumulating so much experience with my daughter with Down syndrome and other families who have children with disabilities or special needs, and with multicultural families and moving and all these things. I said, wow, I have something maybe to make other parents a little bit easier these kind of challenges or situations. So I started to work as a family consultant and as a parent coach, trying to not give my experience, because I hardly believe that there's no recipes. Every family is absolutely different. I was not the same mother when my first child was born that when my third child was born. I was a different mom.
Yes.
And so there's no recipe, and things or strategies that work with that one child doesn't work with the other one, even if same mom, same dad, same house, but everyone is unique. But there's ways that help me, and I find in the research that help everyone to slow down and to smooth and to put some kind of humor when times get rough, and in that way keep the harmony of the family and make these challenges less stress for everyone.
Yeah, oh, that's really good. And do you feel like you're settled now in Brazil, or do you think that, you might sort of explore more different countries?
I think I'm settled, but my heart always belonged to my mother
Yes.
country, and
Yeah.
I miss so much as I'm getting more mature or
Mm.
older, as you want to say. I miss so much my country. I used to listen so much to Argentinian music and keep my habits and my culture a little bit more stronger as the year passed by,
Hmm.
because it's like you always feel a little bit odd.
Yes, yeah.
You're never going to understand completely, with something, the very first tones of the music start here. Everyone said, they recognize the music and they feel something that I'm not feeling. I may know
Yeah.
even the music, but it's not, make me any movement in my heart. But
Hmm.
when I listen to the first notes of an Argentinian music, or when I smell something that it reminds me my country, it's so close to my loving memories. So there's, even if I can say that I'm settled and I'm working here and I have friends and I'm very close to my husband family, I'm still
Yes.
missing the smell and the food
Yeah.
and the festival of my country. And just to finish and give you an example, yesterday was Mother's Day in
Hmm.
Argentina. My
Oh,
whole
okay.
family was all together and having a
Yeah.
meal together, and here was not. And I realized how much the merchandising and everything makes you feel something, because it was so quiet here. Nobody was talking
Mm.
about that. Nobody was sending cards. And I was feeling, but it's Mother's Day. It's one of the most important day of the year for me, because, I love to be a mom. It was my dream. And I was feeling like, oh, nobody's saying, telling me anything or congratulate. It was only by WhatsApp, by my friends or my
Yeah.
family. And when it's Mother's Day here, it's not there. So I always call my mother, say, Happy Mother's Day. I know it's not there, but you're my mother. Everyone is remembering their mothers, and I need to say you congratulations and thank you for
Yeah.
everything you have been doing for me, blah blah blah. So these kind of things still make me feel like, it doesn't completely belong here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And for your children, do they feel like this is home? Is Brazil home for them?
Uh, the 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 oldest the oldest one that was going to school and living more, the cultural from the other countries. He feel like home, but he always said that he would like to live abroad.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
heritage this willing to live in different cultures. And I think in part was because I was trying to make it as excited as possible, even with
Yes.
all these challenges, and
Yeah.
leaving friends or moving, or some bullying that he was facing at some point in the schools, or they were laughing at him because he was not speaking
Mm.
properly or not was
Yeah.
understanding there was very rough times, I must say.
Yeah.
But he have this curiosity to
Hmm.
live or to work abroad. My daughter, I think, she consider home whenever I am or some family members
Yes.
are,
Yeah.
because she's so close to families and relationship. And my youngest, he's 16 now. I think he's the one who feel more Brazilian.
Hmm.
I guess, I don't know, because the future is always open. They might surprise me, but I guess he will feel more comfortable here.
Yeah.
Uh, he spent, I think it related with the personality and the time they were spending, the timing where they're making this most close friendships.
Hmm.
So it might looks like that at this point, but we
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah. Have your kids been to Argentina yet, or
Yes, yes,
they
yes.
have? Excellent.
That's another thing. If possible, keep traveling and keep contact with the different cultures. It makes it
Yes.
more fun.
And in terms of what you learned when you were training as a parent coach, um, What culture do you think was more sort of open to that, and which culture was more opposite to how you were parenting your children?
I think the Argentinian culture was the little bit more close to parenting, with being loving but putting boundaries at the same time, and talking with respect, and apologize and repair when we mess up, because we all lose our temper. Even if we are training as parent coaches, we lose it sometimes, and it's very important to repair and start all over again, and put the relationship first rather than the behavior. So I find it more close to the way I was raised. But as I told you, I find, very, very loving German moms. And, it looks like in Germany they are more cold, or they put more distance. And I find very, very rough South American moms. So I think it really depends on the way you was raised, in the wish that you have to make the most, to be a conscious parent, and don't traumatize, and don't disconnect from your children. It depends of the intentions you put to. I correct so many things, even if I think that I was raised in a loving family. I correct somehow some patterns that were not nice for me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And before you go, where can people, find out more about you, connect with you, or sort of get in contact with you?
Yes. Well, I'm working with Jules Royal, and we found a parent enhancement program website, and we have an Instagram. We also have a podcast. The podcast is called Get to the Root of Trauma, and you have been there with us. It was so nice. So this is the place where people can find us.
Well, thank you so much, Carolina. That was really fascinating and interesting. And
thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to connect further with Carolina, I'll leave her links and her contact information in the show notes. And as always, if no one has told you today, you're doing a great job, and I'm proud of you. And I'll see you next time.